Hello everybody, my name is Ryan Gest, Elections Data Fellow here at Decision Desk HQ, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. I guess this is the second video in this series where we are covering every poll closing on election night, 7 p.m., 7:30, 8 p.m., and so on, as well as which races to watch at each hour. As always, please make sure to like the video down below and subscribe if you haven't already if you enjoy these kinds of videos, because that lets us know if we should continue producing them. So without further ado, let's get started. Coming up at 7:30 on the East Coast, polls will close in 3 Appalachian states, North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. The 2 most high-profile races are the U.S. Senate contests in North Carolina and Ohio. Republican Senator Richard Burr is retiring in North Carolina, leaving Republicans to defend an open seat. Decision Desk HQ currently rates the battle as a toss-up between Republican nominee U.S. Congressman Ted Budd and former Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, Democratic nominee Cheri Beasley. Beasley, much like Val Demings in Florida, has performed very well in polling, trailing Budd by 1.4% in DDHQ's polling average as of October 20th. Keep in mind, however, that Democratic U.S. Senate candidate in 2020, Cal Cunningham, led by over 3 points in our polling average heading into election night, before losing by over 1.5 points. Moving on, Ohio is not a state that has been especially competitive in the last few election cycles, especially on the presidential level. But this is yet another open seat for the GOP to defend. Republican incumbent Senator Rob Portman is retiring, and Republican nominee J.D. Vance has significantly underperformed in both polling and fundraising. Meanwhile, U.S. Congressman Democrat Tim Ryan was probably the only candidate that the Democratic Party could field, which would make this race interesting, but it's still an uphill climb given Ohio's strong Republican fundamentals. According to Decision Desk's 2022 elections forecast, this contest is rated as lean Republican. That being said, something to definitely keep an eye on as election night unfolds is the margin in this race, as it could very well be a preview of 2 other Rust Belt Senate races, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Moving on, there are 3 U.S. House races worth keeping an eye on at this poll closing as well. Longtime Democratic incumbent G.K. Butterfield is retiring in North Carolina's 1st Congressional District, and the 2022 contest is rated as a toss-up between Republican Sandy Smith and Democrat State Senator Don Davis. Smith swung this district 20 points to the right as the Republican nominee in 2020, and continuing population decline in the district's majority black counties will be key to her chances here. This is a good example of a district that Smith and Republicans should win in a Republican-leaning environment nationwide. On the other side of things, Ohio's 1st Congressional District is also rated as a toss-up. Republican incumbent Congressman Steve Chabot is not as moderate a candidate as the GOP would probably like to have in a district that broke hard against Trump in 2020 and was redistricted several points more Democratic. Ohio's 1st voted for Trump by 3% in 2020, but would have voted for Biden by 9 points under these new lines. Even worse for the incumbent, this district is high education attainment, the sort of demographic that has turned out in droves in recent special elections, especially post-Supreme Court ruling on abortion. Finally, Ohio's 9th Congressional District poses an example of a Democratic incumbent-held seat that should flip if Republicans really are to gain 20 to 30 seats in a red wave in the House. This race has hovered around the lean Democrat to toss-up to lean Republican range in DDHQ's forecast, as 30-year incumbent Democratic Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur is running for re-election in her gerrymandered Toledo-based district that voted for Biden by nearly 20 points in 2020, but got redistricted to favor Trump by 3%. The good news for Kaptur, however, is that J.R. Majewski, the Republican nominee in this race, is not considered to be a relatively strong candidate, and Kaptur has historically overperformed. And with that said, that about does it for the 7:30 p.m. poll closing. The next video will be on the largest poll closing of the night at 8 p.m. Lots of states, lots of races to cover there, so make sure you subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you get notified as soon as that video is out. Until then, see you next time.